Welcome to what should be a series of videos where I'm going to be talking about combos and just synergy between cards and things like that. It won't necessarily be doing full deck lists, but basic ideas to build decks around. The first one we're going to start with today is going to be the Stuttershy machine combo, which is defalcating machine and Stuttershy, and making an unlimited amount of micromajigs from those. The first card we're going to look at in this is actually Contiguous Defalcating Machine. It is a 5-cost, 2-threshold Arcanist card, and it says whenever a character enters play, its controller must choose one of the following. There's 3 options. Option 1 is that the controller must pick a resource and put it in its owner's hand. Option 2 is destroy that character. And option 3 is the faction loses 3 influence. You will probably never use option 3. Option 1 and 2 are the key that you use for this combination. And then the other part of the combo is actually 2 Stuttershys. You need 2 of them. So Stuttershy is a 1-cost, 2-threshold Gearsmith. And if this card would be destroyed, you flip it face down under its owner's control instead, and it becomes a resource. And if this card is flipped face down, each opponent gains 1 influence, and you create a micromajig for each influence gained this way. Typically, you're playing one-on-one, so you're only going to get 1 micromajig out of it. So opponent's going to gain 1 influence, you're going to get 1 majig. So the way this combo works is you're going to have your Contiguous Defalcating Machine out. Optimally, you're going to want Stuttershy already face down, which isn't too hard because a lot of times you'll end up playing a Stuttershy early and it'll chump block or something while you're building up. But if you have both of them in your hand, it's still fine. So we'll just start it with both Stuttershys in hand. So the way it works, we're going to pay 1. We're going to play a Stuttershy. When Stuttershy comes in, it triggers the Defalcating Machine. We're going to choose option 2, which is destroy the character. So when Stuttershy is destroyed, it flips face down its resource. Your opponent's going to gain 1 influence, and you're going to make a Micromajig token. Now when the Micromajig token enters play, it triggers the Defalcating Machine. Usually at this, a lot of times we want to pick up a resource, but we don't want to pick up anything. So this first Micromajig, you can just choose to destroy the character. We don't need it. So now we're going to pay 1, and we're going to play our second Stuttershy. So when we play this Stuttershy, we're going to choose option 2 to destroy the character. Our opponent's going to gain another influence, goes face down. A Micromajig token comes into play. At this point, now we're going to want to choose option 1. We're going to pick a resource, put it in its owner's hand. So we're going to choose this first Stuttershy that we put face down. And this is going to go into our hand. So now we can start this unlimited loop. So now we're going to pay 1, making sure to use the other Stuttershy that we put face down. We're going to pay 1, we're going to play the Stuttershy, we're going to destroy it to the machine, face down, opponent gains the influence, we make a Micromajig token, we trigger to pick up a resource, we're going to pick up this Stuttershy, and now we can just keep playing the Stuttershy and just cycle through these 2 Stuttershys an unlimited number of times to make as many majigs as we want. And that is the combo right there. Now that we see the combo, we're going to, that just makes a bunch of micromajigs. You can just attack with the majigs, several turns over, and you will eventually kill your opponent. And just remember that every time you make a micromajig, your opponent gains an influence. So you make 100 majigs, your opponent has just gained 100 influence. Over the course of 2 or 3 turns, you can attack with, say, 75 of these majigs you created, and some of them will get through. And then you still have 25 to block to make sure you don't die. Some of those 75 will get through. The next turn you can attack with more, and so on. And you can win that way. You can win with just continuing attacking over a couple turns. And it's a fine way to win. It just takes a little longer. Most decks, though, will run some sort of 1-turn kill potential. If you looked at the Gen Con deck list, you saw several of those versions. My particular version runs Tested on Autoframe and Joe Ciandilio. I don't know if I pronounced her name correctly. So Tested on Autoframe, it says that when this card enters play, you may remove a unique Joe you control from the game. If you do this turn, each other character you control gains 1 strength and 1 life, which means all of your majigs will become 2 2s instead of 1 1s. The other important part of Autoframe is all characters you control can attack even if they have not been in play since the start of the turn. Which means all of your Majigs are now 2/2s and can attack immediately this turn. So instead of attacking for 100 damage, which happens to just offset the amount of life you gave your opponent, you're now attacking for a total of 200 damage, which is enough to overcome the 100 influence you gave them, plus a little bit more, even if you only get half of your Majigs through. Well, you have to get more than half. Even if you get 3/4 of your Majigs through. Jo, I actually run both Joes in my deck. There's two versions of her. One is the new one from Shade, which is the most one people will be familiar with, which is all characters you control gain rules text. Says if they've been in play since the start of the turn, you can deplete it to reduce the next numeric cost you pay this turn by 1. This can be a very good card if you don't have the 1-turn kill. So if you just make a bunch of Majigs, at the start of the next turn, you can play the Jo, and now all of your Majigs can deplete for resources, which would let you just deplete 3 Micromajigs to draw cards, deplete 4 Micromajigs to play resources. If you make enough Majigs, you can draw all the cards out of your deck and looking for your 1-turn kill, looking for your auto frame and stuff, and then deplete the other Majigs to actually play the cards you need. And then the other Jo is the older Jo, which is just deplete this card, the next numeric cost you pay this turn costs up to 3 less. I actually like this Jo a little bit better for the 1-turn kill, because once you play her, you can just deplete her immediately and then reduce the cost of the tested on auto frame. So he's a little bit cheaper. As I said, I run both in here. I'm not sure which I like better. They both serve their unique purposes, so I just run both. So this is the version I run for my 1-turn kill win. As I said, if you looked at the Gen Con deck list, you'll see that there are some other versions, such as Micromajig. With that card, it's a 4/4. You can deplete a character to increase its strength by 2, its strength and its life by 2 each. Which means all of your Micromajigs, instead of them only doing 1 point of damage, when you deplete it, it's now turning into 2 points of damage. So the key again for both of these OTKs is, since you're giving your opponent 1 influence gain, your Micromajig's only doing 1 damage. So you're just negating the influence you gave them. You need a way to overcome that influence and more. So you need a way to make your Micromajigs into 2 strength, or make your Micromajigs do at least 2 damage. Micromajig is a way to do that. Micromajig also has the added benefit of sacking one of the many Micromajigs you have to make it unblockable. Tap all of the Micromajigs, you beef up your Micromajig into ridiculous amounts, you sacrifice the Micromajig, now it's an unblockable, 1-turn kill. One of the other combinations you can run, which is a little bit harder to pull off, is using Elitist Majig and Epic Dude Maker. Epic Dude Maker is an item where the attached character gains 1 strength and 1 life for each elitism threshold you control. And Elitist Majig says you can sacrifice a Micromajig, and Elitist Majig now provides 3 Gearsmith threshold, which means all of your Micromajigs, instead of doing 1 damage, are now essentially turning into doing 3 damage. Since you sacrifice 1, now provides 3 more threshold, which boost your Epic Dude Maker character by 3 strength and 3 life. The problem is unless you have it on a character that isn't actually unblockable, the problem is going to be getting that character through for damage. Those are some of the OTKs. There might be more that you can do with it. So those are the ones from Gen Con. This is the version I run. Which, just other good cards in this deck. 2 of them are very important. One of them is Inhibit. This card is probably the most important card. There are a number of ways that will kind of stop and slow down the deck. Inhibit fixes the majority of all of them. Inhibit is a 1-cost, 1 threshold Arcanist. Pick a non-resource card. Until the start of the next turn, treat the card as though it has no rules text. And then you get to draw a card and replace inhibit. That's not the important part. Negating rules text on cards shuts down all kinds of things like Watchtower stuff that would kill the Micromajig as soon as they're created. Just negate the rules text on it. Inhibit is the most important card in this deck. Not the most important, but it is a very important card in this deck. The other card that's also handy is Micromajig Master. When this card enters play, you can put 2 more Micromajigs into play. That's not the important part. The important part is you can destroy 3 Micromajig tokens you control and search your deck for any card. Again, if you play this after you have your contiguous defalcating machine, remember that all 3 of these characters are going to trigger the defalcating machine. So for these 2 Micromajigs, since you don't necessarily need them, it's alright to just sacrifice them to option 1 and then either pick up another resource or just lose 3 influence for the master. The important part is being able to search your deck for the combo pieces that you need to win the game. So these 2 are very good cards to have, even though they don't necessarily win you the game, they get you the cards you need to win the game. And Inhibit will stop most cards that are going to slow you down or stop you from winning the game. This combo is actually pretty difficult to shut down completely because it's so easy to just start over again. Because the Stuttershys are pretty much always either in your hand or face down as resources. You know, they're never on the field for you to destroy, typically. And if you do, or they're never on the field for you to like remove from game or anything with a few cards. You really have to have item destruction, item removal of some sort to remove the defalcating machine. Because even when you wipe out Majigs in a turn, if you're not dealing with the Stuttershy, the defalcating machine, the next turn they just do it again. And so they can just make more Majigs to overcome, you know, the life that they lost last time. So last turn they lost 100, and you wipe them all out. This turn they can make 200 because now they're swinging for 400 damage and you've only gained 300 life. If you wipe them out again, then you just make 400 Majigs to overcome the total. So now you can swing for 800 in one turn to overcome the 700 life you've gained, and so on and so on. It can just get to be ridiculous numbers. But unless you deal with the Stuttershys or the defalcating machine, then you just keep doing it every turn. So cards that can, besides item removal is the most important part, but cards that will kind of slow this down for you, a little bit, to give you time to, try to win before they can OTK or just kill you one turn. And Arcanist is probably one of the better cards to play. Would be Forgotten Tentacle. It is a new card from Shade. It lets you look at your opponent's face down resources and destroy one. So you can look at it and destroy a Stuttershy. Getting a Stuttershy into the discard pile is a huge benefit because since it's running Gearsmith, Arcanist, they don't have any character recursion in this deck. There's item recursion because Gearsmith, but there's no character recursion. So being able to destroy the Stuttershy, get in the discard pile is a huge plus. Forgotten Tentacle is a pretty good card. God's Autograph is another good card. It makes everything gain unique, so all these Micromajigs gain unique Micromajig, which means they can only ever have one Micromajig, which is great because they can't amass the needed quantity to just overrun you. Actually, another defalcating machine as well is another good one, and the reason it's good. So when they play the Stuttershy, they choose to destroy it to both. Like if there's 2 defalcating machines, they can just choose to destroy the Stuttershy to both of it, which is fine. Once they play the Micromajig, though, now there's 2 triggers that they have to do. The first trigger, they can choose to pick up a resource, which is what they want to do. But then the second trigger, if you pick up another resource, then this becomes unsustainable unlimited number of times because you're going to run out of resource to pick up. If you choose to lose 3 influence, then again it's unsustainable because you're going to run out of influence. So you'll kill yourself. And if you choose to destroy the character, destroy the Micromajig, then you have netted nothing on the board. So a second defalcating machine is a good way to stop this. However, if you are going to play that, make sure the stutter machine player has already played their defalcating machine. If they haven't played theirs and you play yours, then they just don't have to play one at all, and they can just use yours to combo off. So you only ever want to play it after they've played their machine. Also, forget, is an Arcanist answer to 4 items. So you can put the defalcating machine into their hand and then make them discard it. Or since they theoretically might have a Stuttershy in hand, make them discard the Stuttershy, which might be a slightly better option than the defalcating machine, just because, again, Gearsmith has so much item recursion built into it, like rewarding salvage and scavenger majig, that it's easier for them to get a defalcating machine back. And they can search up a defalcating machine a lot easier than just through item searching. Banker has Portmanteau, where you could name Horsemajig, which Stuttershy is a Horsemajig. So every time they play it, they have to pay an extra 2. So now a Stuttershy is going to cost you 3, which again, if you're paying 3, when you play it, and when it destroys, you make a Majig and you pick it up, you're running out of resources, so it's not going to be able to do it an unlimited number of times. So Portmanteau is a good option to slow them down a little bit. Ministry of other smaller ministries can help. It only helps because now they have to pay 2 for each Micromajig that they're going to attack with. So it helps with the win con I have built into this, where you're just making a bunch of Micromajig and swinging with them independently. It doesn't help versus the Sprungmajig combo or the Epic Dude Maker, since that is both revolved around making just one character really large instead of swarming with a bunch of characters. You could the other good cards that Banker has, which is probably some of the best answers as well, is Anadettaphobia and or Snooty Dorman. So when your opponent is playing a Stuttershy, you could use Anadettaphobia or Snooty Dorman to terminate it, so Stuttershy never enters the battlefield. It goes to the discard pile. Again, they don't have any way built into this to get the characters out of the discard pile. Gearsmith, they have a lot of item destruction, so they're really key to destroying the defalcating machine. Also, if you're playing Gearsmith, you could play Stuttershy yourself, which most Gearsmith decks are doing now, because Stuttershy is just it's a really good cheap blocker, gives you ramp and everything. So you probably play your own Stuttershy so you can use their machine to combo off yourself, just to make an unlimited number of Majigs. They have Contrabulous Fabtraption, which is an ideal way to remove a defalcating machine, because that actually will remove an item from the game, so they can't get it back. They have Hilarious Refrigerating Alarm, which, since they're doing this, you let them resolve one Stuttershy, destroy it here, and then when they're playing the second Stuttershy, you play Hilarious Refrigerating Alarm, which will terminate Stuttershy and then give you a couple Micromajigs. So now, again, it removes Stuttershy. That's all Gearsmith has I can think of. Warlord, they have Blow Up and Plunging Reaver to deal with defalcating machine. They have Watchtower, which does 1 damage anytime something enters play, so it will always destroy the Majigs. It won't hurt the Stuttershy too much. When you play the Stuttershy, if there's a Watchtower in play, remember, as the active player, you get to choose the order the trigger is resolved. So you can choose to resolve Defalcating Machine, which is destroy the character first, and then you can have Watchtower destroy Stuttershy, or you can even just let Watchtower destroy Stuttershy. It doesn't really matter, and then choose to destroy this anyway. Either way, Stuttershy is just going to go face down. So Watchtower doesn't hurt the Stuttershy part, but it does hurt the Micromajig part. Because once Micromajig comes in, you can pick up a resource, but then Watchtower is just going to destroy your Micromajig. So that's rough. Shriever Attack, which is 2 damage to all characters. So after they play the Testing Auto Frame, even to boost everything to 2/2, you can still Shriever Attack and wipe everything out. They also have Rabid Saroom and Spitting Saroom, which would require you to live till your next turn in hopes that they're not going to OTK you. And then that'll do 1 damage to all their characters. So that's a way to work on it. Rogue has some of the roughest. Their item removal isn't great. They have Clockman City Shuffle, which will make everything lose a life, so it would wipe out my jigs. They also have Narrow Passage, which so you can only form one attacking party per turn, essentially. You can only attack once a turn. Again, that helps with the swarm of Micromajigs, but it doesn't help versus the Springmajig or the Epic Dude Maker version. The other way that Rogue has would really be to use Heist Planner or some sort of deck searching to remove cards. Heist Planner is probably the best one. So use Heist Planner to search opponent's deck, put cards in discard pile, and then use an opportunistic pirate to remove them from game. So you can put a contiguous defalcating machine and a Stuttershy and then remove those from game, and that's a great way to make sure that they can't recur it, and you've cut down on the number of Stuttershys. And even just getting Stuttershys into the discard pile is key. Stealing a Stuttershy is not that great, because once it's destroyed, it's just going to flip down underneath your opponent's control, which they want them face down anyway, so it's not a huge loss for them if they go face down. So stealing Stuttershy isn't necessarily a good thing. Stealing a contiguous defalcating machine isn't good, because defalcating machine doesn't care who controls it, it's going to function the same. So there's very few great things to steal out of here. Again, and one of the other ways too is if they're doing this is just destroy the Testodon auto frame. Once it comes into play, you can just destroy the auto frame and they can't attack this turn. All them jigs are still going to be 2/2s, but all them jigs can't attack this turn. Again, it doesn't solve you from dying 2 or 3 turns down the line, but at least stop you from being killed this immediate turn. Sadly, the one, as I mentioned before, most important card in this match is Inhibit. Inhibit shuts down virtually everything I just said that will stop this. It'll shut down your watchtowers. It'll shut down a second defalcating machine. It'll shut down portmanteaus. It would shut down, even if we play something like a Samuel Griswalter, it'll shut down that. When Inhibit just shuts down pretty much everything that is a way to slow down this deck. So it's a problem. I hope you learned something about the Stuttershy defalcating machine combo. Thanks for watching.